No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
Hey everybody, welcome to About to Break. I'm your host Taylor Hughes, and this week I am sitting down in glorious Los Angeles, California, in the garage of Chris Grace.
Hey, Taylor.
Thank you for having me in your garage.
Yeah, you did the weird thing where you invited me to a podcast, and now I have to record it.
I know. Well,
People don't know about this podcast. Is Taylor actually makes all of his guests set up their own audio equipment.
I walked in to record with Chris, and he's got like better gear than I have. Just like, we could do it in my garage, and you got a full studio set up in here.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed by how much crap is in this garage, but
no, I'm having a little bit of ADD fit, just thinking, like, not being distracted by looking at the cool gear you have.
Also, I know that you're a magician.
Yeah.
And you maybe can relate that I was never a neat person, and I never had a garage that was orderly and minimal. Right. But the effect that magic has had on my garage in the last year has been horrific.
It's detrimental. Detrimental. Yeah. Yeah, and you spend money on things that you didn't even know existed.
Yes.
It's like when you go to Costco and you're like, let's just go to Costco and see what they've got. Oh. And you leave, you spent $400.
Now I pass by like a Staples and I'm like, what kind of glue do they have there?
Yeah, because 90% of magic is arts and crafts.
Well, I love the arts and crafts side of it.
Do you enjoy it?
I really do. I have a cutting mat and all this. I love that stuff.
I find it very therapeutic.
That I find so, like, I don't know. I came to magic really late. Yeah. So, like, I mean, I've always loved magic, but I've only had an actual interest in it for like 18 months or something like that.
That's insane. Not insane, but it's insane that, like, I listened to the first episode of your podcast with our buddy John Accardo.
Yes.
And I had heard that you were newer to magic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this guy has gotten into it because
Well, I do
more about it than most magicians, it seems like.
I do have a core tendency of mine is I love to learn about stuff. Yeah. And so I will fall into something and really go pretty deep into it really quickly. I'm really good at becoming like an advanced beginner at things. Okay. I'm like an advanced beginner in a lot of different subjects.
Have you? Well, I noticed because you draw. And
I've been drawing, yes.
You act and you do music.
I do. I decided that in 2019 I'm going to basically just try to be like a Renaissance man where I just try to just improve skills for no reason.
That's great though.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I think it's always healthy, especially when you're doing something that was a hobby that is now becoming a career. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like for those of us in entertainment, usually we start off as a magician or, telling jokes to friends. It's important to keep hobbies.
Yeah, these are totally hobbies of mine. Like I will never draw for a living. Yeah. I will never ever do magic for a living. Like there's no way. I've already seen people at the top of their game at the castle. And I'm like, a lot of things come to mind. One is I will never, ever have the skill of those people. Huh. And to be honest, I've seen some shows where I'm like, ooh, I don't know that I want to be there.
You're like, if that's as good as it gets.
Well, only because of the way sometimes some of the most amazing magicians that I see. Yeah. Sometimes when I see the way audiences treat them, it just makes me really sad.
This is an ongoing personal feud that I have with myself is I love magic, but I struggle with the fact that I feel like at a certain point, magic has a ceiling on it that other arts don't have on it. Because even like the greatest magicians are kind of a joke to most of the public.
Yeah, I mean, even David Blaine. I'm not saying
right. Yeah. You take someone, whoever it is. Yeah,
but David Blaine is somebody will have an instant reaction to him. Just be like, oh, the guy that was in the block of ice or whatever. Right. There's always like a quick take on almost everybody, even Copperfield or Eugene Berger. You ask someone on the street what their opinion of Eugene Berger is, and they're like, oh, the guy who taught everybody in Chicago. No. Yeah. The reason I like to learn about subjects is mainly so that I can reference them in improv.
I took, was it 3 years ago I started doing improv classes.
Oh, cool.
And part of it was because I spent so long as a solo performer. Mm-hmm. Magicians, you get in this situation where you're in control of everything that happens on stage.
Yeah.
And even if you bring a volunteer up, you're still kind of controlling the situation.
Yeah.
And what I noticed is the best shows were when things went wrong and we just played and had fun.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to like be better at getting present. You know what I mean? Like, so I started taking improv classes. It was like, this is so freeing.
Yeah.
Terrifying and freeing.
It's been fascinating to listen to magician podcasts.
Yeah.
And hear how many of them are interested in comedy.
Yeah.
And how many of them are interested in like long form improv.
Right.
Where, because I was listening to Simon Cornell and Nick Paul talk about something.
Two magicians, one.
And they were talking about like how much they admired like long form improv. And I've done long form improv for so long. Yeah. And I'm just like, boy, it's just improv. Like, well, I think like learning how to yes and is not the same as learning how to do like a double lift.
It's true. I think it's at least to me, it's kind of a romantic idea. The idea of going on stage with no idea of what's about to happen.
Yeah, and that is the addictive part of it.
Yeah.
I taught improv for a long time, and I don't teach as much anymore. But what I would try to get across to students is there's a tendency in early classes to be on the sideline and think about what you're going to do, which is encouraged later when you put together longer structures.
Right.
But just at the very beginning, when it's like, we're going to do a 2-person scene, there's a lot of standing on the side being like, okay, the suggestion was pizza. What's something funny I can think of pizza? Let's be sitting at a pizzeria. Yeah. I'll do my Italian chef character, whatever. Yeah. And what I try to get across to students is the addictive part of improv is when you get to the point of the suggestion is pizza. I don't know. I like pizza, whatever. I'll walk out and see what happens. And when you go out there with nothing and then you create a scene, that feeling becomes addictive.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be shooting for is like, I'm going to step into the space with confidence in my scene partner.
Yep.
And we're just going to make something.
Yes.
Combined with the fact that if you do a shitty scene, does not matter. Like,
yeah.
It's so unimportant in the grand scheme of things.
It's one of those things too that a healthy attitude of, if I do this and it's the best show we've ever done, it's never going to happen again.
Yeah, and also no one will ever see it.
Yeah,
and also anyone that saw that, even if it was the greatest show you've ever done, they will not be able to communicate to anybody else how good it was because they'll be like, "Oh, listen, I was at the clubhouse last night and these guys did this." Okay, wait, wait, seriously. Okay, the suggestion was like dentist, and I know it sounds dumb, but like the dentist was actually a wolf, you know?
Right.
Like, and it's completely,
it's all context. It doesn't.
It's transient. And that helps you realize that it's all, even the things that you think aren't transient are.
See, and as magicians are notorious for, I mean, even comparing magic to stand-up is funny because I've had done so many shows with stand-ups where I'm like in between variety acts, I come off and I'm like, okay, are you on your way? Yeah. Okay. You're going to be here. All right. I'm going to do 2 minutes and I'm going to introduce you. You're going to be here. Yeah. Literally walk in, do the set, walk off. No prep. And magicians are there like 4 hours early and they're putting up their own backdrop and he's got his own microphone because that's the one he likes to work with.
Right. They're coaching all of the Stooges. All 16 of the Stooges.
Oh my God.
As we know, as a layperson always guesses.
Right. All pre-show work.
It's all Stooges. Actually, I was listening to your episode with John Armstrong and I thought of an idea for a show. Yeah, I'm going to pitch it to you now.
Do it. Here's the pitch.
And if anyone listening wants to help, you can do it. Taylor, you can do it with me. We'll get John Carter to help us with it.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Because you guys were talking about being being present in the moment with people you bring up on stage.
Oh yeah.
This is my idea. So this is what I would love to do. I wish that I was good enough at magic that I had all of the technical skills and all of the history and all the knew all these different like concepts for scripts and stuff like that to do this.
Okay.
You bring an audience member on stage.
Yep.
And you say, let's come up with a magic trick together. So like, what do you think would be fun for a magician to do? Like, what's something you like if, in your house? Oh, I like my flowers in the garden. Cool. So like, what would you like if we took a flower, would you like to see it like disappear? Would you want it to float or whatever? And you have them like pitch for about a 5-minute interview,
right?
Pitch a magic trick that they would love to see.
Yeah.
You've got 3 teams of magicians.
Yeah.
They get 3 different pitches from audience members. Then they all go away for like 15 minutes. And then you have someone come up and do like an actual act.
Yeah, someone does like a 15-minute act.
After that is over, the 3 teams come back and they're like, we went away for 15 minutes. This is what we came up with. So they come up with a bunch. They come with cards or coins and all that stuff, and their skills.
Right.
And they're like, let's just try to put something magical together. The whole audience is like, we know this is happening right now. We're not going to hold you to some crazy standard. So like 20 minutes later, I see my vision come up as like your attempt at a trick.
I love that.
I would love to see that.
I love that. Because there was a TV show. I forget the name of it. All the magicians listening right now are going to be jumping up and down. There's a TV show that was almost
Simon and Simon.
No, I don't think so. But other than Simon and Simon, there was also one where it was kind of a deal where they would have to create. Almost, they would give them like, here's 3 things.
Oh,
make it into.
So it's
trick.
like Chopped.
Yeah, it was exactly. Yeah. Gosh, I can't believe I don't know the name of this. John Accardo will know it right.
Well, because what I love about improv is so. I don't go to improv shows, period. I don't at all. No, I don't. What I don't love about improv is, I mean, I don't go for like, oh, what a great sketch you wrote on your feet. I don't go for like, what great characters you've brought into the thing. What I go to see is long form improv specifically is opening up a comedian's mind and seeing exactly how they work and seeing it work on stage right in front of you.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter to me whether or not it's good. And that's also why you can't show it to someone else after the fact.
Right.
Because it's not so much the end result of what the show was. It's the process of sitting there and seeing their brain work and seeing how their brain interacted with somebody else's.
Yeah.
And I would love to see a magician's brain work in the same way.
See, that's huge. That doesn't exist in the world of magic. There's magic is not expendable. You know, I feel like in comedy...
Yeah, there's no equivalent of what you were talking about before, about like a great show and it goes away.
Yeah.
Magic is like, a great show, I've got to capsulize that and make that.
Yeah, and how can I make this better and better, and I'll do a version of this routine for the next 20 years, which to me is death. I would hate that, you know? But I think that if magicians had to do what comedians do, where you tour an hour... then you release it on a special or a CD or whatever, and then you have to come up with all new stuff. I think magic would be in a totally different place. Yeah. You know what I mean? I would love to take someone who's had an act that they've done for years and they've won awards and everyone loves them, and just say, okay, you're going to do 20 minutes next week. You can't do any of that.
Yeah. I mean, you would also hopefully develop a more discerning audience as well. Right. Because part of the reason stand-ups have to get rid of the material is the audiences don't accept it. Like you come back into town and you do the same hour.
Right. Oh, yeah.
People are like, I saw that already.
Yep.
But I mean, I've been at the Palace, sometimes at the Castle, and in 45 minutes, I've seen the same thing twice sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Or you leave the Palace and go to the parlor and...
Yeah, and you see something very similar.
Did they not talk?
Yeah. So I guess what I want to see the equivalent of like blitz chess, basically.
Huh.
You know, because like blitz is like grandmasters having to play like really fast,
really quickly. Yeah.
With the audience knowing that like we're not expecting a perfect act. We know you just put this together,
right?
And we want it to be fun. We want it to just like see magicians kind of like bouncing ideas.
Yeah.
Off
See, that's good. We were doing the show I was doing at the Clubhouse for a little while. We were calling it the Low Bar Variety Hour.
Yeah. That's they only could do new material.
Yeah. And it was fun, man. We did it for like 6 months and it was really fun.
Also, what I'm proposing is probably not realistic given that there's more technical demands for magic. Because first of all, some of that glue takes 30 minutes to dry.
Right. But there's also the thing I like is the creative process of someone brings up flowers and obviously you didn't bring any flowers.
Yeah.
But now you got to make
But you have paper back there.
You know, or you got to work in. Yeah. There's different ways to include those ideas without having to have a physical flower on stage.
Totally. And hopefully someone isn't like, well, I like flowers. And you're like, we don't have flowers. Next.
I love it. I think it would be I would watch it.
I was going to call it instant magic.
Instant magic?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
You got to do it in I'll host it. You guys do the hard work.
Oh, I want to see that show. That's got to happen.
Yeah. There's a whole side of like magic that I find so fascinating. That's not, it's literally not exposed to the public, but that I just think is so my other pitch for magic show.
Yeah.
Is a show called like something called like 6 Great Methods,
okay,
or something. And this is just like, for example, if you were, we'd have 6 magicians.
Okay,
be like, Taylor, out of everything you know, you take whatever you think is the most beautiful method for something that you can expose. And we're just going to give you 15 minutes to like talk about it. And at the end, we'll see a trick with it. But if the point is like, let's explore the beauty of the method itself.
See, that's so great.
I think that'd be interesting too. So
I'm writing a show right now. Buddy, who's taking classes at the Magic Castle. He's a podcaster and an author who goes by Science Mike. He's like in the whole world of science. And he just kind of similar in the last year has gotten really into magic.
Yeah.
So I've been brainstorming this idea that I want to do with him of a show called Science is Magic.
Oh.
Where he comes out and kind of lectures on a principle of like why certain tricks fool our brains.
Oh, cool.
And explains, without explaining the trick, explains kind of like psychologically or what's happening in our brains when we watch a magician do something with colored changes or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And then have a magician come out and do an effect based on that same principle.
That's cool. Yeah, that's actually like a better version of my idea. Because then you don't run into people getting mad about stuff.
About like it. Yeah, magicians.
A lot of magic culture, I will say, is people getting mad.
Oh yeah, magicians get very uptight.
I mean, so is comedy, but I feel like magic culture, it's a lot of people getting mad about like the same things over and over.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's I love watching the Magic Castle Facebook page.
I've heard this is one of the reasons I want to audition and get.
There's a private.
These are the reasons, and this is probably why I won't get in when I audition, because I'm saying this publicly. The reasons I want to audition and get into the castle. Yeah. One, so I can get in for free. Although go to the technically not free because you're paying, but still, way cheaper than
like buying dinner and drinks and all.
Two, so I can see all the gossip on the Facebook page.
It's free.
3, to create wonder in people's lives.
Oh my God.
Sure.
Well, it's the reason it's funny is because it should be about creating wonder and all that. But it's just hilarious to see a bunch of guys.
I love that beef Wellington and I want it at a discount.
Yeah, buddy, that's a good beef Wellington. There's guys on there that like every day are like, they're like trolling Instagram to see people that post like bathroom selfies with the hashtag Magic Castle.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
Then they'll like put them on there and be like, we got to shut these girls down. And I'm like, leave them alone. Like,
I've actually never understood the bathroom selfie rule. Cause like, what's the big deal about that?
Yeah.
And there is no way to police that.
That's
appropriate.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I get the original reason. From my understanding, Cary Grant was on the board when it first opened, and he was like, "If you want people from the industry to feel comfortable coming here, make it no photos allowed." You know, this is before phones, but like,
right. And Cary Grant was going around carrying a big camera to do selfies with,
totally,
with one of those like gas.
On the side. Had a gunpowder.
And he was like, "I'm the only one that can."
You had to stand still for like 15 minutes while the selfie developed.
Yes. John Carter told me that the turtleneck rule is a Johnny Carson.
Is it?
Thing. Yeah, because I recently bought 4 turtlenecks.
Because
I'm like, this is a good loophole in the dress code.
Yeah, there's some funny because for those of you who don't know, Castle is coat and tie. You got to wear suit and tie.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's certain things like turtlenecks. I think bolo ties.
Yeah, bolo ties, which is insane. Also, like apparently a tie that lights up is fine. Like a neon tie that lights up. We're cool with that.
I know, right? Because it's supposed to be classy. That's the one thing that's kind of funny.
I mean, it's that like, old LA feel back when ties had like glow sticks in them.
Right. Nothing says magic like an LED necktie.
Embarrassingly, John and I went to the castle and I debuted my black turtleneck.
Yes.
And we went to the close-up gallery and the magician performing was wearing the exact same outfit as me.
And then we left and went to Sadie Hawkins.
Yeah.
Did you, when you walked in with your turtleneck for the first time, were you a little bit like, I hope I get it?
I actually considered having like a button down and
like a
tie in the car.
Yeah.
And one time I actually wore shoes that were not correct by accident. And I was like, I didn't realize,
Yeah,
I got in. I took the first level class at the castle last year.
Okay.
And when you take it, this is, by the way, probably if you're not a member, the best deal in LA, which is you take the class.
Yep.
while you're in the class, you can go to the castle Monday, Tuesdays, and Saturday. Like
you get like
Saturdays.
a student access, right?
Yeah, and so literally, if I was in a class, I would go to the castle 2 or sometimes 3 times in that week.
Oh wow.
And why did I bring this up? I can't remember. Just go be a student. Oh no. Well, I was gonna say I went so often that the door guys started to like, you know how they're like, welcome home.
Welcome home, yeah.
They would say that to me.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah.
And then a guy was like, welcome home, Frank. And I was like, what? My name's not Frank.
My name's not Frank.
And
Guess I'm going to be Frank now.
There is a fat Asian magician walking around named Frank that looks like me. That happens pretty regularly. So like normally I clock
what, that you get called Frank?
Yes.
So there he's all over the city. This
no,
Frank
it happens. It has happened. Like it happened even like 2 months ago where I did a stand-up gig at a place that's regularly hosted by a different Asian comedian. And the guy was like, welcome back. And I was like, never been to this club. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I know exactly who you think I am. Yeah. And I'm not that guy.
Oh my goodness, man.
So, I mean, it doesn't bother me really. But I notice it every time.
I think it's amazing that you, okay, what was first for you? Because of all these things, of the stand-up and the improv, and I mean, no, magic's new, but like, what was your first interest?
When I was a kid, I took piano lessons.
Okay.
I took piano lessons for like 11 years. So I was doing classical piano.
Yeah.
And then in junior high and high school, started doing theater.
Okay.
So then, and I love theater. And
was it community theater or at school?
At school, at high school. And I grew up in Texas. Okay. There's a very competitive element to theater in high school.
What city were you in?
In Houston.
Okay.
Where everything in Texas gets treated as if it's a football championship. and it's literally like codified in this thing called the UIL, which is I think University Interscholastic League. But basically it's a structure that every single thing you can think of, like the state high school football championship is run by the UIL.
Oh my goodness.
But so is the state one-act play contest. So is the marching band contest.
What?
So is the...
They just have a monopoly on all competitions?
Like if you're in school and you want to compete in something, you can go like district, regional, state in football, basketball,
but in theater?
Spelling bee, theater,
what?
Mathematics, prose interpretation, anything you can think of.
Yeah.
Because I actually won UIL Texas for headline writing, which is a journalism competition where you read a story and you have to create a headline within a certain number of characters for 6 different stories. Okay. And then you get judged on how pithy and, like, to be honest, how pithy and punny your headlines are. I was the state champion of that.
That's amazing.
So anyway, at the end of high school, I was deep into theater and still playing piano.
Okay.
And I was sort of trying to decide. I definitely wanted to do one of those to study in college. And my piano teacher said, you should really think about this because majoring in piano is a very lonely discipline. And also you don't practice enough is also what she said, which is true. And so I kind of chose theater because I knew enough about myself that at least in theater, you have to go to rehearsals.
Yep.
And you have to be with other people. There's a social obligation to show up and participate. Piano majors are like, they sit in a room and practice for like 6 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that ever.
That's interesting because most pianists that I've met are very kind of socially reserved.
Yeah. And they are,
why,
the ones that I've known are very comfortable just being alone for long periods of time. The other thing that factored into that was, I would say, like almost every single person in my family or friends that I said, hey, I'm thinking about majoring in acting in college was like, you shouldn't do that. Like, I don't think you can do that.
Oh, they didn't think you could do it? Or
no, they didn't think, they either didn't think
a living at it.
Well, it was some combination. I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
Right.
They're all saying, we don't think you can get a job in that industry.
Got it.
And I grew up very anti-authority.
Yeah.
So anybody saying like, you can't do that, or especially like it's kind of, especially at that time, makes sense to tell like a young Asian kid, like, you shouldn't go into acting because like there's no roles, you can't look at anything and be like there's any careers in it.
Right.
And I was kind of like, no, almost like I remember thinking like I'm going to do this because it's the most difficult.
Oh, wow.
Which is not, I would say, don't emulate that line of thought.
What triggered that? Was there a certain authority figure that you, like started it where you were like, no more, I'm not going to care what people think?
I mean, I always push back against my dad.
Really?
About everything. But I push back against everybody that ever talked to me that way. And I still have a streak of that, but I've had to like very consciously kind of let it go as not being that useful as an adult.
Okay, yeah.
Because actually one of my my first improv class that I ever took in New York, we had a substitute teacher come in once because the main guy couldn't do it.
Right.
My first improv teacher in New York, Kurt Brownohler, great stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
And also hilarious guy. He couldn't make it to one.
Was this at UCB? Or?
This is at the Pit.
Okay.
And so another guy named Ed Herbstman came in and subs for him.
Yep.
And there were like bros in my class, and Ed really bristled at these dudes. And he really gave them a talking to about the way they were acting in class, but he kind of directed it at the whole class.
Okay.
And I remember thinking like, this guy is an asshole. Like, I don't like this guy. And it was my anti-authority streak popping up. And then I took my second level class with Ed Herbstman because he was the only person that was teaching it.
Working.
And it was only like one class in. He was like, "Hey man, you're good." And of course, I'm just like, "Oh, I like this guy." but by the way, Ed Herbstman is one of the best improv teachers I've ever had. Is one of my favorite improvisers that I've ever seen perform.
Yeah,
I learned so much from him. And if I had continued with that, like, screw this guy, he's talking down to me attitude, I would not have had access to any of that. Even if I had been sitting in the level 2 class,
right,
and still had that in me,
yep,
I would have been closed off to like everything he could offer. So like,
wow.
And I remember around then I was like, I need to be a little more judicious about when I'm just sort of reflexively pushing back against somebody.
Yep.
I still do, and there's still, you know, it's just a balance depending on the situation. Because I've also come across situations where it's like, you know, oh, somebody here has to speak up against this thing.
Right. Yeah. This is
and
unjust
like,
or not right.
I guess I will do it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, but like, you know, so you have to measure it as it goes along. But that was something that I think wasn't helping me as I got older.
I struggle with that when you're in a situation and nobody will do the right thing. And you're just like,
yeah.
Or, well, and you get in certain situations where it's like to stand up for it, it's going to be detrimental to you or put you in a...
And I think something that's hard to deal with is that it often is detrimental to you. And it's often not, like, I had a day job for a long time. And I really did speak up in that job about, like, I was doing web development for that job. And the boss's boss would sort of come in and be like, you know what? I don't like this front homepage announcement. It's not visible enough. Can we make it blink, make it orange, and make it just really big across the top of the screen? And the designers would be like, we really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And there would be sometimes we do like usability tests. It'd be like, the way you're wanting to do it is actually not going to help us. It's going to be worse.
Right.
Because of X, Y, or Z.
Right.
A lot of it had to do with like, we have set up a consistency that like announcements go here. And like users are looking there for a thing, and now you wanted to put it in a different spot. We've kind of trained them to look here.
Right.
Like there were good reasons for the designers to be like,
yeah, it wasn't just like, we like it this way.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, it looks prettier this way.
Right.
And I would often speak in those situations, and it earned me no favors. And like, I was not, it doesn't always fit into a romantic thing of like, now they'll see me as strong and really respect me.
Jerry Maguire, who's going with me?
You know, oh, he's got moxie. Sometimes it's just like, now the boss hates you.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do about that. It's just like, it depends on what you can live with, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so before I went full-time, 5 years ago, I went full-time. But I used to work for a church.
Oh, you're a youth pastor.
I was a youth pastor.
You still have that glow.
Oh, do I? Oh man, I haven't lost it all.
There's a general sunniness about life.
I know. I'm like, I was a youth pastor for so long. My face will permanently look like someone's youth pastor. But it was like a very unhealthy place. And so what's crazy is, I had so many moments where I was having to like stand up for other people who were literally being abused and, you know, just being taken down in meetings and terrible things being said about them. And then when I quit over it, those people said terrible things about, like, the people that you're standing up for often don't even appreciate it, you know?
Yeah. And it might not even be that they don't appreciate it. It might be that sometimes when people are in a bad situation, they have to justify it to themselves why they're still there.
Right.
And
yeah,
like a lot of times what happens, I feel, is that the situation will happen first, and then your brain will fill out reasons about like, oh, this is why I think that way.
Oh yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like, oh no, actually, like,
you create the
like you might just viscerally dislike or like somebody,
right,
and then rationally be like, oh, I dislike them because of this.
Yeah.
But that's not really the reason why. Your conscious brain caught up to your unconscious.
You know, when I left that situation, it was like immediately my eyes were open to all this awful stuff that was happening that I didn't see.
Yeah.
And I talked to a friend about it, and he's like, well, yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to see something when your livelihood is dependent upon not seeing that. Like, you know, when like your paycheck is dependent upon falling in line.
How did you deal with, because you probably had to face like, I'm not going to have a regular paycheck anymore.
Oh yeah.
So what was that like when you were getting near the like I can count on my money from month to month.
Right.
In 2 months, I'm not going to be able to.
Yeah. So when I quit, I had known for a few months that I was like, the time is limited, you know? And it's crazy because I had up until a year before that, I did like 60 magic shows a year. I would do at least one a week that would like help pay the bills, and it was fun and all that. But almost a year before I left, I quit doing magic. Like I just shut it down. So when I quit my job, I had no money and also no side hustle.
Oh, so you didn't have like a net that you were jumping into.
No, man. I was just like, that's it. I can't take this anymore. It's unhealthy.
Oh, okay.
I'm not seeing my family ever. And I was like, I'm done. And I thought, you know, well, maybe there'll be like a severance package. No.
Well, also you also didn't think like, let me go be a youth pastor somewhere else?
No.
Interesting.
It's interesting. I never wanted.
I also don't really know what a youth pastor does.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This is. I'll just describe to you what I think a youth pastor does.
Please do. Oh, this is my favorite.
I think a youth pastor like learns like guitar arrangements of like popular, like a Post Malone song,
on like acoustic guitar.
Like you take a Post Malone song, and then you learn to play it on guitar, and then like Saturday afternoon you come in and. Like kids that are just done with their soccer game come and you learn and you teach them all the singing parts for the Post Malone song. But then every time it's like, instead of talking about like meth, you put in God.
I think if that's what it was, I could still be doing it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, man. I never wanted to do it. Like it was one of those things where I always wanted to do entertainment. I thought that's what I was going to do for a career.
I mean, is there an element of entertainment in it?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I tell people, I'm like, if you can talk to junior hires for 45 minutes, I mean, church was my open mic. That's where I learned how to like hold an audience and gauge what's going on and timing and all of that.
So were you ever doing magic with Christian elements to it?
I never did. I like gospel magic.
Yeah.
I hate that stuff so much. Because what I would always see would be like a terrible message and a terrible magic trick shoved together, thinking they're going to make each other better. Yeah. So I would always
You're like, look at these 3 rings. These rings represent the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, no, I would be like...
That's a different Christian...
That's a different denomination, I think,
I was raised with no religion whatsoever. So
none at all.
None at all. So everything I have is just what I've learned from like...
Improv, and people bring up something and you're like, I need to go find out what
I went to like a couple of lock-ins.
Lock-ins!
I was invited to a couple of lock-ins.
Yeah.
That's
that's like when you spend the whole night at the church, like doing like video games and bounce houses and stuff.
No, we played a game called Murder.
That's very Christ-like.
Yeah, you sit in a circle cross-legged, and one person's the murderer, and you like wink at people,
right?
And then they have to act like they're dying,
right?
But in that version, I guess then like a couple days later, we resurrected. No, I don't know. But no, so everything I don't know anything about like this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's wild. I grew up and I was 8 years old when my parents took me to this place, and then I was there for 25 years.
So wait, so there was a big gap. Then you had to build up the magic business.
Yeah, well, after I resigned,
because you let it go.
I let it go. Yeah.
So then, like in the last 5 years, you've had to build from essentially. You didn't have any. Like it wasn't like you had. I've got 3 gigs.
No, I had like, and when I quit it, I gave up like 6 months worth of work to people, and I changed my website, and part of it was because I was.
Wait, what did you change your website from?
I just took it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was like
I changed my website
TaylorHughesMagic.com to Taylor Hughes sad.
Yeah. Emo Taylor. Yeah, no, so I had stopped performing completely. So then what happened is I quit, and I thought there would be some sort of transitional period. Like, you know, they'd find someone new and I'd work with them and have a couple paychecks or whatever.
You just out.
It was like I quit on a Sunday and then they paid me through Tuesday.
Wow.
And that was it. And so when I left, I was like, okay, well, not sure what I'm going to do. I know I don't want to do this somewhere else because I never really wanted to do it here.
Yeah.
So my wife and I were just like, well, we got a little bit of money in savings. Let's see what happens, you know? And then like 3 weeks later, I was like, okay, we're like 4 weeks from having no money.
Yeah.
I can either go get a job at Target maybe.
Yeah.
Or I can try to do magic. And at the time I was like, you know, when I was a kid, I thought this is what I wanted to do. So I'm going to give it a go. And if I don't try it, I'll always be pissed that I never tried it.
Yeah.
And it just started clicking. It was crazy.
Oh, cool.
I mean, it's not like it's always been smooth sailing, but like,
well, yeah, because now you're a freelancer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there's it's seasons. There's seasons where it's like, wow, I've never seen so much money in my life, and then there's seasons where it's like, all right, we better get a gig coming in soon. You know. So
I mean, I did a commercial.
Yeah.
That, and P.S. all this money's gone.
Right. People hear this and they're like, "Oh, you're just set."
I did a commercial and I was away for like 3 weeks. I got home and I had a packet of checks that I could not believe. The numbers on these checks.
Right.
And to be totally honest, I had like a huge fit of anxiety.
Yeah.
Because I was like, these are not the kind of numbers that a person like me earns.
Huh.
I got used to it pretty quick, but but I was like, oh, this is very strange. And then also, like, you know, when the Social Security sends you that like yearly thing that's like,
right,
here's what you've made in the last couple of years.
Right.
There's 1 year that's a weird spike in my last like 10 years, which is when that happened.
Yeah.
But freelance life is like that. So like, then you will literally go like 6 months where it's like, oh, there's nothing coming in.
Yeah. And you have to learn how to gauge and balance and go, okay, don't spend all this money now because winter's coming. Do
you have a lot of people that are like into being freelance listening to this? Because here's a nugget that I read right before I quit my day job that I've always held on to.
Do it.
Which is that when you go freelance, you are more worried but happier.
Yes, that is 100%.
And that's been extremely true. And but also like reassuring that there's a lot of anxiety about being freelance. But the times that I have had to wake up with an alarm clock in the last year, every time I've had to, it's been to like catch a plane to go to a gig that I really want to do.
Right.
Or, you know, to go shoot something at 5 a.m. or whatever. It's always been like, it's never been like I was chronically late to my day job.
Oh yeah. Because
I was supposed to be there at 9:30.
You just couldn't get
I would show up at like 10, 20. Every 6 months they would bring me in and be like, you know, we really like having you here, but you just got to show up on time. And I'd be like, I'd get better for a little while. But my body did not want to be at that job after.
Right. Yeah. I tell people it is the toughest thing we've ever done and simultaneously the greatest thing that I've ever done.
Yeah.
Because you know, really we've got time and we get money, right? And you trade all your time for money. And so for years and years, I was giving my time and my energy and my creativity to build something for someone else.
Yeah.
Because the place I was in, I mean, I know I worked at a church, but it was a business.
Yeah.
And it was very personality driven, and it was all about making this guy famous, you know? And I go, man, I spent so many years creating someone else's dream to happen.
Yeah.
At the sake of my own health and my family and my own passion. And now it's like, yeah, sometimes it's hard and it's tough, but at least you're doing something you care about, and it's actually like, you know.
Yeah, I would say it brings with it maybe the like responsibility that when it's all for the other guy,
right,
you can have a couple days where you just kind of slack it.
Yeah.
Because or you can put you can give it a B effort.
Right.
And it kind of slides.
Because you're getting a paycheck either. Your paycheck's the same.
You get the paycheck and it's not your name on it at the end.
Right. Yep.
Whereas now, I mean, probably every gig you do it's your, like, for that group of people, you're making your reputation over.
Right.
For those people. Not to put more pressure on these gigs coming up for you, but.
No, I mean, man, it's like, I'm 5 years into it, and yeah, you're absolutely right.
What do you, I think it's funny, like how many magicians I've encountered that like comedy.
Yeah.
And how many, I actually don't know tons, but there's been a fair amount of like comedians that I'm like, oh, they're into magic too. Like I didn't know Larry Wilmore is like
totally
big into magic.
Oh yeah.
And I like looked at Genie magazine this month and like he's published
he loves it. He loves it.
He's published like a wash shuffle or something.
That's why I'm so excited about the podcast that you and John are doing.
Yes. Because we're specifically talking about comedy and magic at the same time. And I'm experiencing, I think what happens is, like we both kind of regard the other field.
Yeah.
And since we're not completely invested in the other field, like I have the luxury of just being like, I like magic. It's fun.
Right.
I don't have any attachment to it. It's not connected to my money at all.
Yeah.
So I can enjoy all the fun parts of it.
Yeah.
And all the political parts of it don't affect me in any way.
Right. Which also means you can speak freely and
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I've
real about where you're at with it.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen a lot of magic over the last year at the castle. And let me just list all the people I don't like.
Wait, hold on. I'm getting some names.
No. Actually, really, I have found I almost enjoy everybody that I see there.
Yeah.
Because I find there's something to enjoy about everybody's act. Now, there are some acts where I think to myself, what I'm enjoying about this is that it's kind of like a cruise shippy feel. There's only been one act, and I'll tell you after we stop recording. I don't remember his name, but there's only one act where I was like, this has to end. And it was because there wasn't any magic happening.
Oh.
There was just it's often when there's comedy happening.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, please just like, can I pick a card instead of listening to this joke?
Well, Jack Goldfinger, who's the booker at the castle, he said before, he's like, you know, when guys will come out and they'll be good comedians, but they'll do, 5 minutes up top of just stand up, and he'll be like, guys, it's not the Comedy Castle.
Yeah.
Like, people came here, which is what's so special about it. It's one of the only places where people come to see magic.
Yeah.
So it's important to.
Have you been to Chicago Magic Lounge?
I haven't been yet.
I like it a lot. And it's the same thing. Like, you're going there to see magic.
Oh, I want to go. I got to get out there.
And I'm from Houston. I was in Houston for the holidays.
Okay.
And they're trying to open
Magic Island back
again.
up. I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not open yet.
Okay.
But it's the kind of thing where they keep saying, like, it's going to be open soon.
Yeah.
But if you're ever in Houston and driving on a freeway and you just see a big Egyptian
Sphinx.
Yes,
yeah.
like just on the side of the road.
To the right is Joel Osteen. To the left is
where Joel Osteen used to be. Used to be the Summit where the Houston Rockets used to play.
Yep.
And now it's it's Lakewood Church or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't love seeing that.
No.
Because I just think about how much money is in that church.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And that I mean, I don't mean to bring it back to church. That's part of my argument too, is like 85% of any of those places, the money goes to having that building and the lights. And it's like, How much good could you do if you just helped people?
Well, I have thought about stuff like churches and cults and stuff. Not that they're the same thing, but
some of them are.
They're close to each other. And one thing that I think people want to give themselves to something.
Yeah.
They want to give themselves to like a community.
Yeah.
It's helpful if the thing you're giving yourself to is unassailable. So like if it's God, great. But if it's also like a charismatic leader,
right,
that remains like unsullied by any issues,
yep,
then I can give myself to that community.
Right.
Where and the same thing happens in improv.
Really?
Because like a lot of modern day improv comes from wanting to give themselves over to Del Close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
And Del Close is like a charismatic leader of like, of movement.
Yeah.
And then that model springs up in every like town you go to, a town of like 50,000 people that has an improv school.
Right.
And there's a guy, and it's kind of always a guy who like has all the answers about comedy.
Right.
And, he lived in LA for like 6 months, and, he did like 2 lines on, I don't know,
whatever,
Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
So, and that model forms again of just like, we've got to believe in this thing, this person. And then because people are human beings, it'll be like, oh, some of the money you guys spent on improv classes, I remember when I said I was going to like buy new lights for the theater,
right?
Actually just like spent it on Clash of Clans points or something.
Yeah.
And then it starts to erode.
Yeah.
Because
there's a lot of the positives that I saw in the church, I see in the improv community. Yeah. And some of the negatives, some of the same thing of like, there's a lot of money being made by improv schools. Yeah. It's like $400 a class for 8 weeks, and then we'll let you know if you can go on to the next one. And
I would say hopefully one of the differences is that you can access improv teachings
right
by buying a book.
Yes.
Like you don't have to, like you can't go to Scientology and just be like,
I got Dianetics.
Tell me everything.
Right.
Like your access to information that they provide is restricted by how much you pay into it.
Right.
Whereas, your access to improv is limited by like going to class and stuff, but you can also buy
go get Truth in Comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
The UCB handbook.
The UCB handbook, and you can get pretty much what you learn in a class from that book. You won't get the like personal experience of like bouncing it off other people.
Yeah.
But that's what I tell myself. And like theoretically, there isn't as much resistance to leaving.
Right.
An improv community, even one for another. You can be like at UCB and do shows at
Second
the Ruby
City,
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Second City, IO, whatever.
Yeah.
Especially in Chicago, like a lot of people exist in Second City and IO.
Oh, wow. Simultaneously.
In healthy ways.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think that's as true of like cultish type religions.
I did when I left and when I started doing improv classes, one of the things that was so encouraging to me was that because we were told things like, you got to come to a place like this to get community and relationship and acceptance. And it was so wild. I went to UCB. I remember going to UCB on Sunset and going to like a 101 class. And within 10 minutes, I'm in a room with 15 people I've never met.
Yeah.
And everyone's just respecting each other and being cool with each other and like being so present.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, let's just do this all the time in life. Let's just, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't work. Improv doesn't work unless you're.
And you need to be able to say you're all committed. Like the thing is, you couldn't just get 15 people at Starbucks.
No.
And just feel like, guys, let's do zip, zap, zap.
Right.
There is a thing of like, we've paid into it and we're like
invested.
There's an outside thing that we're like committing to.
Right.
And that's kind of almost like the shame of like human beings in a way is like, theoretically, we all could just like meet in a park and make up scenes.
Yeah.
And like perform for each other and like have fun but there would always be like, it's almost like there's a human need to be like, yeah, but who's the authority?
Who's the leader? Who's the one who's like, calling the shots?
Who can guarantee that I'm not wasting my time?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're all wasting our time and we'll all be dead one day. That's what you have to remember.
Yeah.
You know?
I used to find that idea morbid that like, you know, people would be like 100 years from now, all new people. Like, you know, and now I find
and you're so like,
free.
But not me, right?
But not me. I'll still be around. No, but now I'm like, what a great challenge to just get the most out of today. And like,
yeah,
you know, with whatever, if you want to learn magic. Like, you know, like,
yeah. I mean, I almost by circumstance cannot conform to any ideas of how people think careers and lives should go because there isn't any path for anything that I've ever done.
Right.
So,
and if somebody tried to if someone tried to recreate your steps, they wouldn't work for them.
No, I mean, they're not as good as me. No, like there was not when I was a kid growing up, the Asian people that I knew that were in comedy there was a guy on the Love Boat.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the stand-up that was on the Love Boat? Who would be like, hello. And actually, I don't fault that dude at all.
Yeah.
There was the guy that like, there was like a Asian Southern guy who hosted Friday Night Videos.
Huh.
Do you remember Friday Night Videos?
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't like, oh, there's 10 great Asian stand-up comedians and there's like 10 comic actors in comedy movies.
Yeah.
That I can like model my career after. I can look at their career and be like, oh, they went to Harvard and they wrote for the Lampoon and then they got a job writing for the Simpsons.
Yeah.
You know, I think people underestimate how valuable like just knowing something is possible is to people. Because I never had that. So because of that, don't really have any, like, I don't know. I might learn magic for 2 years and just be like, well.
Yeah.
I don't have any, I don't feel like I'm fitting into anything. Yeah. I think that, I don't know if this is just my position, but like, I have never felt like I've belonged anywhere.
Huh.
So that has been bad in a lot of ways because I have never felt like, these are my people. This is what I should be doing.
Yeah.
But I think maybe a benefit of that is I never got stuck in anything.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of people from Houston, from my hometown, where
they're still there.
They're still there.
Same thing.
But it's almost like it makes sense that they're still there because they got a job after college or high school.
Right.
And they're around their buddies and everybody loves them. And
yeah.
And I mean, not to be like totally, I mean, they look like everybody else.
Yeah.
And so they don't have a reason, they don't have that like itch to be like, I got to find somewhere else.
Right.
Because they found it basically.
Yeah.
And I don't have that. And I don't know that I ever will.
Huh.
Because even now, if I find like groups that are, so like now if I'm like, I'm studying magic, it's cool. But also, you know, like I'm gay and I'm like, I like comedy and I like playing ping pong and all this other, you know,
where's
crap.
the group? Where's the group for that?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the Venn diagram gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And probably in real life, everybody's Venn diagram is very small.
Yeah.
But I kind of have viscerally felt that like through my life.
Yeah, man. I think one of the interesting things about magic is you find people at the castle or into magic at all that have such different backgrounds and lives.
Yeah.
It really is one of those things where it's like, but we're all into magic. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think the same thing happens with improv.
I think one of the hard things about magic is when everybody says I'm into magic, it's like not everybody means the same thing.
Right.
When
what
they
do you
say
mean?
that.
Yeah. Show me a trick. If it has 21 cards and 3 piles, we're not on the same. we're not on the same.
I don't like spelling tricks.
Oh no.
I find them tiresome.
Let's talk about, because I'm totally fine talking about the things we don't like about magic.
Okay, cool.
What drives you nuts? Spelling tricks drive you nuts?
Well, I just get bored by whenever I read in a book like here's a great spelling trick. I'm just like I was reading about like a memorized stack recently, and it was like one of the great things about this stack is
you can spell any name.
18 of the cards you can spell to.
Right.
I was like, who
cares?
Fuck? Like,
yeah.
By the way, I learned a John Bannon spelling trick.
Okay.
The end of it is a spelling thing.
Yeah.
I went home to Houston, did it for my family, and my niece misspelled 9 of hearts, and so the trick didn't work. And I was like, fuck this trick.
Come on. I really struggle with most of mentalism.
I have a real... So here's... I'm often a little trepidatious about having strong opinions about magic because I'm relatively new to it. Yeah. I think that...
But I also think that's why your opinion is interesting and valid, because you haven't adopted all these same opinions everyone else has, you know?
So I have somebody... There's somebody that I saw in Chicago that I really like as a person.
Yeah.
That I have become friends with online.
Yeah.
And he does mentalism.
Okay.
And I see clips of him doing mentalism.
Yeah.
And he does a thing where it's like tell me about somebody that you from your past that you're thinking about. And then I mean, like he does he peeks the name. Like,
right, yeah,
like he uses magic to figure out what the name is.
Right.
But the presentation of it is, we're so connected. There's a special energy in this room tonight. Yeah. Is the person you're thinking of Linda? And then the woman starts crying.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't say, like, you know, he doesn't minimize that at all. He goes like, you know, well, thank goodness that the two of us were here to experience this moment. And I'm very uncomfortable with that.
Yeah. It's similar to when you see a psychic, you know,
it's exactly the same. So I don't...
Well, and that's part of my argument with mentalism is a lot of it is the presentation, because these are the same guys who will go, oh, psychics are charlatans and they're just using magic tricks to take people's money. And but then they perform as if they have this power and they don't explain it away, or, you know what I mean? That's why I love Darren Brown. I love the fact that Darren Brown goes, yeah, I don't believe any of this either. Yeah. And this isn't real. But then he does something that's still...
Darren Brown's very interesting to me.
Freaks you out.
I love Darren Brown. I also think he's fascinating because he will then be like, now here's how we really did it. And often that is also bullshit. Right. So I kind of appreciate that. Yeah. But he will also be like, faith healing is not a thing.
Right.
Now I'm going to see if I can do it for fake.
Right.
But I will say, like, early on in New York, I remember seeing a mentalist act.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, these are not tricks. These are just, he couched it in like, this is NLP stuff that I've learned.
Right,
I can read your body language because you twitched when I count. I'll count through the alphabet. Don't make any sign. You twitched on the letter F. Is it, you know, Fiona or whatever? And I remember thinking, like, if what you're saying is true, that you can just read body language, then, like, why did she have to write it down on that chalkboard?
Yeah.
Or why did this part have to happen?
I don't like, and this is probably like the thing you were mentioning, the guy in Chicago that he did, and I don't know who you're talking about, but I don't like anything that comes across or is disingenuous. And I feel like, I mean, one of the things, and I have to constantly check myself to make sure this is true, but one of the things I pride myself on is I'm a magician.
Yeah.
But I don't lie on stage. Like, I don't.
Are you very fastidious with that? Like, if you say, like, you know, this is just a regular coin or whatever, like, are those always true?
Yeah, I don't. I do not like, because I feel like,
because, like, I always admire when there'll be a trick of like one of the coins is gimmicked, right? But instead of saying like these are all regular coins,
right,
you'll say, like, not you, but like a magician will say, like, so I'm going to show you something. It's just using what's right in front of you. Like, I kind of admire that. Like, oh, you actually didn't say anything untrue.
Yeah,
you're using an assumption on the audience's part.
Yeah, I think that people. I mean, Seinfeld did the joke years ago about how, like, here's magic, here's a coin, now it's gone, you're a jerk. Like, anything that
the reveal of that is that Seinfeld was a jerk. No, Seinfeld's fine. He's got tons of money. He's fine.
He's going to be okay regardless of what.
Seinfeld had a great reputation boost when that Louis C.K. video came out.
Oh yeah,
of the Louis C.K. video came out recently about them using the N-word. Oh. And Seinfeld was basically like, I have no desire to use that word in my comedy. And it was very admirable, actually. But it was funny because Seinfeld's kind of been like on the
right.
He's been on the brittle, like he's been seeming like a little bit like a bitter old man. And then that new video, like which was an old video, like refreshed his hipness.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love watching. I still watch all the comedians in cars getting coffee.
Yeah.
But it is funny how like often he's just like like he just seems grumpy about stuff.
I'm sorry. What were you gonna say about you? Brought that up. His saying for.
I don't, because I think most people do think like I'm gonna go to a magic show. He's gonna make me look stupid.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna go to a magic show and he's gonna rip me off, or he's gonna make me, he's gonna cheat me or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think there's something very cool when you can go on stage and honestly share wonder with people without making them feel stupid or, you know what I mean? And
I'll give you a converse example though.
Do it.
I saw Steve Valentine.
Oh yeah.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he did just it like in just a machine gun series of just like effects.
Yeah.
And I thought about it the other day and I was like, what I liked about that was I had the feeling of being conned.
Uh-huh.
It has the rhythm of a street hustle.
Right.
But I didn't lose any money.
See, yes. So you still felt safe.
I had the sort of exhilaration of like, man, I'm getting bamboozled. Yeah. Like I am kind of like spinning because I can't keep track of where I'm supposed to be looking.
Yeah.
He keeps fooling me. He's changing methods every other time. He's got me looking here. It shows up here. I go through all that roller coaster, but I still have my house at the end of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so that's literally like a roller coaster, in that like a roller coaster gives you this physical feeling of danger and then puts you safe back where you were.
Right.
So like I don't always love magicians that have that super fast rhythm, but his delivery of that like charming
like a
hustler.
charming cheat. Yeah. One of my
a scallywag.
One of my favorite acts of all time was Harry Anderson.
Yeah.
I love Harry the Hat, and like his total character. And he presented himself as a hustler, but you never once felt like.
I will say I disagreed with some of his judicial decisions
on Night Court.
Well, in the court, I felt like some of them weren't legally sound. But,
no.
And I also thought it was strange that the court went so late, and that the bailiffs got to talk so much. But no, I love Harry Anderson.
Yeah,
he would show up on SNL and like just like saw a needle through his arm.
Yeah,
and like blood would like go everywhere.
Yeah, and and some other people could do the same trick, and I would be like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So a lot of it has to do with just, I don't know. I think don't position yourself as like, I'm so smart and you're so stupid.
Yeah,
it's one of the bad things.
I like the ones where like the magician seems stupid, or like where it's happening to them a little bit.
Like at the haphazard, or like Johnny Thompson had a whole act like a
the
dub
Thompsonian stuff.
Yeah, where like everything went wrong.
I love the Leonard Green stuff.
Oh yeah, just sloppy.
Where, I love the who I don't know his name. I saw him at the castle.
Yeah, and
it's like he's got the old mandolin. He's got a bowling ball that like destroys it.
Kaplan.
It's like it's all just like happening around him.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah, he puts his mandolin down and the bowling ball falls on.
And I love the I like elements of clowning in magic sometimes, because I saw the three Spanish guys that were there at the palace. John Accardo will know. It was Miguel Angea.
Okay.
And I forget his name, who won FISM recently. But there are elements of like clowning and juggling and stuff like that. I like that stuff.
Oh yeah.
That none of that falls in the like I am smarter than you category for me.
No.
I think I'm also getting a maybe skewed sample by seeing stuff at the castle.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like I'm probably seeing. I haven't seen a ton of acts there that I was like, this is corny. This is like horrible. I feel like there's a base level of like just competence. Even like the comedy acts there like are probably funnier than if I was just seeing stuff like just in, I don't know, where would I encounter magic like if I lived in the middle of the country?
That's maybe like someone's birthday party, or I mean, there's not a lot of venues for magic other than I mean, most of my stuff is like I go to someone's corporate party and do a show. You know? So that's what makes the castle again so special, is most people don't ever see magic live.
Yeah.
or they see Fool Us, you know, like things like that. It's another.
I guess I could go to Vegas and see more stuff.
Yeah. Even Vegas is changing though. It's mostly like Cirque shows and
yeah. Britney, Celine.
Yeah. Basically, if you have one name, if you have like a first name that's solid, you could get a Vegas show. Gallagher. Is he still working, or did he?
I don't know, but I think I'm correct that at some point he outsourced his act to his brother.
Oh, so I just heard this story.
Yeah, and there's Gallagher too.
Yeah, but he didn't authorize it.
Oh, and then they had some kind of feud.
Yeah, he's a twin brother who just started doing his act.
Yeah.
He'd be like, I'll do it for half price.
See, he should have used his twin brother to create like a lifelong con. And create a magic. He could have been like Gallagher could be at all places at once. He could fake his own death.
Oh, he could, yeah. Because like the Blue Man Group, that's the smartest thing. It's just blue paint. They can get 3 more guys, and now they're performing in Dubai tonight.
Yeah. They have a height requirement though.
Oh, do they really?
They do. They have a height minimum and maximum.
Okay.
And they also have you have to be a pretty decent percussionist.
Yeah.
Because one of my college classmates ended up being like the 7th Blue Man or whatever.
Really?
Out of like 100 or whatever.
Have you seen them live?
Yeah, I've seen them twice in New York. I've not seen the Vegas show.
I've never seen it.
My friend is in it in Orlando, I believe.
Very cool.
There's a lot of percussion in it. And I think he told me recently that they prefer to have percussionists that they can then teach to do the other stuff.
Okay.
As opposed to like clowns who then they have to teach how to drum.
Right.
Because the drumming is not super basic.
Yeah. No, their show seems pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's great.
I you know what show? Well, so I did a corporate event in Vegas once, and they're like, we're going to take you to a show. And I was like, wow, sweet.
Oh.
So they took me to see Lord of the Dance.
Oh.
And for the first 3 minutes, it's the most amazing thing you'd ever see.
Yeah.
And then from 4 minutes to like 3 hours later, you're like, give me something to shove in my ear. Like I make it in. It's literally the same thing.
Is there something else you hate in magic?
Something else that
I have one that I would
do it.
Which is I just want people to think about the jokes that you write into your scripts, and also that it's 2019 now. So maybe, and this I have seen at the castle in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
A thing of like, so where are you from? Oh, Japan. So like, oh, you're from Germany? I've got a like one-liner about Germany.
Right.
And it's not that, it's just that the jokes are very old.
Well, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said when you're writing jokes in your show. Most magicians don't write jokes.
They acquire them through osmosis?
Yeah, there is like, there's no, in comedy, like if a stand-up does someone else's bit.
Yeah.
That doesn't fly.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
No, and everybody polices it. And even like clubs are aware of you're doing someone else's material. But in magic, I think because comedy isn't the primary thing in the show, most guys will be like, oh, this guy told a funny joke. I can tell that funny joke when I do that trick.
Right.
And there's all these stock and hack lines that are forever growing.
Right.
Magicians are horrible about just repeating material they've heard other people say.
Yeah, and I was actually I will give myself a little credit that I wrote a couple, like 2 jokes that got into John Accardo's
that's
act at the castle. And then afterwards I was like, have I just written jokes that other people have come up with?
Oh, like because they're
kind of
built around the situation, or
and they're kind of like just apparent to
right.
I can't remember what they are. Oh, well, one of them was just like he did a Matrix.
Yeah.
And he offhandedly, I think, said like, what do you guys want to see next? It doesn't matter because I'm going to do this, whatever. And I was like, what if you say like, excuse me, ma'am, would you like to see a trick with coins or with cards? And no matter what she answered, great, because this has both.
Oh, that's great.
And and then I was like, that seems so obvious that somebody must have made that before.
No, I mean, I haven't heard that one. Yeah.
Feel free to take it, magicians.
So any magicians that are listening.
If you're doing a Matrix.
Yeah.
No, actually don't, because it's in John's act.
There was a time, and I'm trying to pinpoint the year, but there used to be magicians, and then there were comedians, and then a couple guys started being comedy magicians. And this is probably like late 80s, Patton Oswalt has a hilarious bit about working with comedy magicians.
Oh.
If you haven't heard it, it's so funny.
Where does this line up with Amazing Jonathan?
Amazing Jonathan was around that time period.
Because I wonder how many bad copies he spawned.
Oh, like other guys just trying to do his...
Of just being like, man, I could do that.
Well, yeah, like, or what happened is magicians started going, oh, I tell a joke, I'm a comedy magician.
Right.
And it goes back to like my issue with gospel magic. Like the story's not solid and the magic's not solid. And you put them together. So it's like magicians have like a crappy trick and crappy jokes. And they put them together and they think it's going to make it better.
Right. And it might make both worse.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons I took that class at the castle was because I saw Zabrecki.
Oh, great.
And I was like, this guy is genuinely as funny as any comedian I know.
Yeah.
This act, it's like, oh, it's possible to do an act that is like truly transgressive and funny.
Yeah.
And like, even now that I know methods behind his act, I will still go see his act because his character is so enjoyable to watch.
Yes.
And I actually love going to Zabrecki show, bringing somebody who has not seen them and seeing them react to him.
Right.
Seeing an unsuspecting audience deal with his character is very enjoyable to me.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things I was like, oh, this is like, it sounds terrible, but it's like, oh, there's good magic.
Yeah. It's true. It's a shame that so much of it is like, it's good in comparison to what else you've seen. Do you know
that's what, but like Zabrecki to me is good, not in comparison to other magicians.
No, he's
just good like as an act.
Yeah. Well, in his character, this is how you know you've got a good character, is if that character wasn't doing magic, you'd still want to watch him.
Yeah. I mean, he dances in the Happy video.
It's fantastic.
You still watch it.
Yeah. The thing he did that, and I think Penn mentioned this on Fool Us, but his bit where he's having them draw pictures and he's holding the Sharpie and then he starts writing on his face. That's just one of those things that's so funny. And I can't believe nobody ever thought of it.
Yeah. Maybe it takes people coming from outside the industry to see those things.
Yeah, that's true.
He comes from music.
Yep.
I don't know. Like,
I often have said this, and I should probably stop saying it, but I'll say it again right now.
Please subscribe to the Patreon.
Yeah, please. Patreon.com/about to break. Thanks for the plug. No, I often will say, like most of the people who have gained success in entertainment that had a love for magic did one of two things. They were either successful in another area, then started doing magic for fun.
Yeah.
Or they started with doing magic and then got successful when they stopped doing magic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Johnny Carson used to be a magician. Steve Martin used to be a magician. Neil Patrick Harris used to be, you know what I mean? And so I've always thought, like, is there a certain point where I need to give up magic to keep going? You know?
Well, I think maybe the thing to think about is, like, we have things we want to express to the world. And there's different like vessels that fits into at any given time. So maybe for a while, like a person is like, the thing I want to say to other people is best communicated through me writing these songs that I put out like on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, you know what, at some point I have to put these songs with like a narrative and write a musical, or I have to just write a play or something like that. It might be a point where like there's the boundaries of the thing that you want to say are bigger than what you can do through magic.
That's good.
So maybe I mean, I feel like if you still want to just like spell people's names with cards, stick with magic.
This is great.
It's great for that.
Dude, that's awesome.
The thing I'm concerned about as I approach magic in a more deep way is I already know this is true of myself.
Yeah.
But I just want to be aware of it. Is that I know that I am self-selecting the material that I'm interested in magic as based on what I can perform technically. Okay. So, and I want to resist being like a certain kind of magic is better than another when the underlying reason is like, I can't really do card stuff. So like, I actually prefer this kind of magic.
Right.
As opposed, you know what I mean? Like, I'm drawn to tricks in books where I'm like, oh, I can do that one. If I read in a thing and it's like, do a diagonal palm thing or whatever, like, and I'm just like, well, this trick is clearly too complicated and esoteric, as opposed to just being like, I can't do that trick.
Yeah, I think some of it, you got to look at what do you want to create? What are the situation you want to create? Like Hobson's phenomenal. And he goes, I hate the professor's nightmare, but I do it because I can steal 3 watches and bring 3 people on stage.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the trick itself.
Right.
Has nothing to do with the method. I want to create a scenario where I bring 3 people on stage, have fun with them, and give them all their watches back at the end.
Yeah.
And that trick allows me to do it. So I think it's fine to choose tricks.
I'm definitely choosing them based on my skills. I just don't want to establish a I want to be clear about why I'm choosing them.
Yeah.
That it's based on my skills rather than like my preference.
But
this is also why I'm befriending more magicians.
Yeah.
Because I have more ideas. By the way, like I'll hit me up on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
Any magician that wants to send me a routine and have me punch up your script for it.
I was already going to do it.
Because that, and also I would love it if people sent me like, not your A tricks, send me the things that's like your C level thing that you don't really like that much, that you can do, but that you don't love performing, but you know the methods.
Yep.
Give me those and I will build something for you.
I love it.
Because the thing is, I can think of tons of like routines.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to John and just be like, so I don't know how like the middle 4 steps of this happen.
Yeah.
So everybody that actually knows the skills and methods, you know, that's where the magicians actually come in.
Well, I think one of the mistakes magicians make is only going to other magicians. You guys may have just talked, I think you did just talk about this on your podcast. I think magicians make the mistake of just talking to other magicians.
Oh, about,
it's like get other,
when they're like, oh, does this seem credible or not?
Right.
And they'll just, so to be totally blunt.
Yeah.
I don't even know how credible like a regular Elmsley count without any subterfuge looks, because to me it looks a little weird to begin with, like like I have never seen a regular person do that ever. So for us to be like, oh that looks really natural, it's like the whole thing doesn't look that natural.
No. And that's why you have to get an outside perspective, you know? And you know, it's so funny, people go like, why would a pro golfer have a caddy or have a coach that doesn't golf?
Right.
But it's not about going to someone who can do what you do. If you want to look at how to move on stage, don't talk to a magician, talk to a dancer.
Right.
You know, talk to a director, get different perspectives. So guys, if you're listening right now, Chris has offered a huge thing. Yeah. And it's only, what is it, like $2,000 a submission? Is that what they,
Yeah, subscribe to the About to Break Patreon.
Oh my goodness.
Make it a
Can we make it a perk?
Yeah, make it a perk.
At this level.
I mean, theoretically, it should be a perk of our podcast.
No. Go to subscribe to their podcast, but the Patreon.
No. If you spend a certain amount for Taylor's Patreon, you get our podcast for free. Fantastic. John also wanted me to tell you that everyone listening to this should unsubscribe to this podcast.
I love that. On the first episode, it was you kept mentioning all these other podcasts
that people need to unsubscribe from.
And then to unsubscribe to.
Unsubscribe from this, WTF. 99% Invisible, Hardcore History.
You made it weird. All those. Get rid of them. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Hey, how can people follow along and see what you're doing?
Well, if you care about my magic stuff, you can follow me on Instagram at ambitious.chris.
Which is fantastic.
Which is, I make no claims at being a good magician, but I try to put up things. And the weird thing is I am trying to put up sometimes when I actually am trying to learn something. Yeah. I'll put it up. But for my comedy stuff, it's at Chris Grace Comedy on Instagram. I'm on Twitter at Chris Grace. You can message me at either. Send me your scripts. Yeah. Okay. First of all, you got to write your scripts down. Yeah. Get like a free script writing program and write your routines down. Yeah. I got to do that, man. That's what Eugene Berger wants you to do from heaven. That's all he wants you to do. Yeah. He's just somewhere going, why are they writing? Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Guys, go check out Chris. Go subscribe to the new podcast. And you guys came up with a name? Yes. It's called The Setup. The Setup. You used to have a show, I don't know if it's still going, that had comedy and magic. Yes. Yeah, Jokers and Aces. We still want to do a show like that. Yeah. We came up with this podcast that's comedy and magic. we went through a million names.
Yeah.
Never once did we come up with a name as good as Jokers and Aces. And I saw that poster and I was like, that makes sense.
Oh, man.
But ours is called The Setup because that's something that happens in magic and comedy.
Yeah.
The beginning of a joke is the setup.
Totally. We're looking for a new venue for that show right now. So when we get one,
cool.
you're going to have to come out and do a set.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
And you could do comedy or magic or both. It'd be awesome.
Ooh. I'll do something, and then depending on the audience reaction, I'll tell them whether it was comedy or magic.
That's great. And I want to see the show you pitched about like
instant
the
magic.
Improv magic. Oh
instant magic and 6 great methods. That's my other pitch.
Look for it soon, folks. Thanks for doing this, man.
Thanks, man.